Hi, I'm Amanda of Inspiring Inkin. Welcome to my craft room. Today I'm sharing with you a really special card. It does take a bit of time to make, but I assure you that the time spent is going to be well worth it. Now, this particular card was designed for my son's 25th birthday. I needed help from Brian, my darling husband, to help me with some of the engineering parts of it, but we got it figured out in the end. So, do you want to see what this is? It's kind of a card or a box. So let's just open it up, shall we? I told you it was worth it. Now I'm hoping that in a second I'm actually going to be able to put that in slow motion. The joys of editing. That card works brilliantly. Now for Connor, we put bits of confetti in it and we put some money in it. The boxes, you can put photographs on it or patterned paper. They are actually really straightforward to do. It just takes a little bit of time. So let's turn the camera around and get crafting. Here is the completed project. So it consists of several different parts. So we've got the box base and the lid, and then we've got these exploding boxes or exploding cubes. So they actually fold completely flat to go into the box. So I'm just going to do that just to show you. So this is how they go into the box. And you just need to sort of keep hold of them. Pop them in there like that. And then when you open it, they explode, which is really awesome. Now, I designed this, as I said, for Connor's birthday. And actually I designed it so that £10 notes would fit inside. I don't know about you, but when I give a gift of money, I like to jazz it up and just make it look a little bit different, so it's not just in an envelope. So basically what we did was we put several £10 notes intermingled with the boxes like that, so that when it exploded the money kind of floated about. And we also put some confetti in, which was basically just scraps of patterned paper that I had from making the project, and I just snipped them up and put them in. So not only were there exploding boxes, there was money floating around and confetti. So it was really cool. So the three things that I'm going to make and show you how to make today are the box and the sleeve, and then I'm going to show you how to make one of the exploding boxes. Now, if you want to make it the same as mine, then you're going to need 5. But it depends how much confetti and stuff that you put in it. You can make this box a little bit shallower, but then obviously you're going to have to fiddle around with the lid as well. So 5 works really great. Once you've made one, you'll find, let me move them in here. Once you've made one, you'll find it is much easier once you've made your first one. But it just will take a little bit of time. So do allow some time to do this. And I said in my introduction, Brian actually had to help me with this. I knew what I wanted to do and I kind of figured it out, but I needed his help with the elastic bands. And basically inside here, and I'm hoping, actually if I move all that out of the way, you might be able to see all the way through. I'm hoping you're going to be able to see there is an elastic band in the centre, and it's the elastic band under tension. So when you squash the box, you're stretching out the elastic band, and that's what makes it pop. And the problem I was having was attaching the elastic bands. So Brian's patented method of attaching the elastic bands, I will show you later. But let's start with the box. I'm not going to show you how to decorate it. Basically, this video is going to be long enough without me doing that. So all of the measurements, if you scroll down, doesn't matter whether you're on YouTube or on my blog, all the measurements will be listed. So that will be the patterned paper layers for here and obviously here, and then all of the measurement score lines and so on for the individual boxes, and then this containing box. Everything will be there. And all of the products that you see me use today are also available in my online store. And if you scroll down, you'll see links. So if you are in the UK, Austria, the Netherlands, France or Germany, you can shop with me. I would love to be your demonstrator and look after you. So I send out catalogues to my customers, thank you cards, I have gifts, I give out product gifts, and also I have a craft along club, which is an online class that I teach. So there's lots of different rewards for you if you shop with me, and I would really appreciate your business. So scroll down and you'll see all the links, or just email me or message me and I will help you out. So let's get started with this bit. In order for the person to kind of open this up, you need some kind of pull tab. I've used a piece of ribbon and a brad, which is a split pin. You can do it with cardstock, but just make sure you use some kind of split pin brad in order to keep it attached. You want it to be able to pull easily. So I'm going to get my scoreboard and we're going to start with the box base. This is 5.5 inches by 8, and I'm going to score at 1.25 inches on all 4 sides. Now, this gives a box depth of 1.25 inches, so that's this piece here. So that's the first bit of scoring. Now you're going to need to use your bone folder to reinforce all of the score lines, and this is a really good habit to get into, to make sure that all your score lines are going where they need to go, particularly with these boxes. In a few minutes when we get to these, they are exploding and they need to bend the way you want them to, so using the bone folder is really good to do that. Right, so I'm going to cut on those score lines, 2 on that side and 2 on this side, and then the flaps that are the squares, I am just going to trim a tiny sliver off them, off all 4. And what that triangle sliver does is it means that the box itself, the corners actually sit neatly. Okay, so let's get the Tombow. For your gluing, for all 3D items, all boxes, use a wet glue like Tombow, which is actually latex based. Or if you don't have that, use a double-sided tape. Don't try and use like a snail standard kind of tape runner. They're just not designed for making 3D items. They'll stick, absolutely, they're good glue, but they won't hold it for a long time. So I want my things to last. And Tombow's really quick, so I like that too. Okay, so there we go. So there is the first bit, the box. Now the next bit to do is this sleeve. Now this was a bit tricky to design, basically because you need it to be a little bit wider than the inner box, but you don't want it to be rattling around. So we're going to have to use 1/8 measurements. So let's just zoom in and talk about the score lines on the Simply Scored board. So let's look at these here. So this is 4 and 5 inches, and in between you've got these little lines. So the largest line in the centre is 1/2 inch. The next size down, they're 1/4 inch, so that's 4 1/4 and 4 3/4. And then the tiny lines in between those are 1/8. So it's actually 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, which is obviously the same as a 1/2, 5/8, 6/8, 3/4, 7/8, and the next whole inch. So we are going to be using some of those measurements. Now, people do get a little bit worried about measuring things. What I would say is just get to know your scoreboard and get to know where the measurements are and the lines are, and just take your time with the scoring. Once you've done it a few times, you'll be fine, but just take your time. Okay, so this piece of cardstock is to wrap round, and it is 9.5 inches by 5.5. And all of the score lines are going to be done on this 9.5 inch because it's going to wrap around. So we are going to start at 3 1/8. So that is 1/8 of an inch bigger than the box. The next line is 4 3/8. So that's 4, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. Then 7.5. And then 8 3/4. Not entirely sure why I'm using my bone folder to score, but obviously you can. A perfectly good score tool here. Actually, I am just gonna run over there just a little bit. It's because it's what was in my hand. Right. Okay. So now this is why we need the score tool. So again, I'm reinforcing all the score lines. Now you want, so this folds over like this. So this small score line here is actually going to be the glue tab, and you're going to want that at the bottom. So as we did with the box, I'm just going to cut the corners off a little bit. And this is where I'm going to put the glue. But what I want to do is make sure that this will perfectly fit this. Taking time at this point just to double check that it's going to fit will save you a bit of angst later. So pop that down. Now I'm putting it upside down. The reason for that is the glue tab, I want it at the bottom. And then this piece is going to fold over and go onto the top. And the reason I do it with this box in situ is so that I know it's going to be a nice tight fit on this box. So I'm just going to line it up like so. And I'm just going to hold it, but just check that this will slide in and out, which it will. Okay. So now I'm just going to fold this flat, and then I can give it a really good press because I know it's in exactly the right position. And then I can pop that in there like that. And it slides in and out really easily. Now obviously then at this point you need to put your brad and your ribbon or your pull tab on it. But that is basically the box finished. And to be honest, this makes a great gift box. This is a really good size. But obviously that's not what we're using it for today. We've got it for the cubes. Okay, so now on to the exploding cubes. What I'm going to show you first is where we're going to get to. So this shape is what we are going to make, and we're going to make 2 of these for every cube you are going to make. So if you're going to make 5 cubes like I did, you need to make 5 of these. Now it actually looks quite complicated, but it's actually really quite straightforward. You just have to know how to do your score lines and trimming. So scoreboard back in again. This is Poppy Parade cardstock, and it measures 7.5 inches by 6.5. Now it is really important, just make sure that you've got it the right way round. So with the 7.5 at the top, you are going to score at 2.5 and 5. So we're actually scoring it into 3 sections. And then you turn it around, so you've got the 6.5 at the top. You're going to score at 1/2 inch, 3 inches, 3.5, 4 inches, and that is all the scoring. So again, it helps if you reinforce those score lines at this point. We're going to be adding a few more extra score lines in shortly, but we'll just reinforce these now. Get that piece of pink card out of the way. So it also helps you see them hopefully on camera. Right, okay. So if I bring this one in, what we're going to be doing is cutting the majority of this off, but in the centre here you've got 2 small sections, 2 1/2 inch sections. You need the top one, but you're going to get rid of the bottom one. So if you take your scissors and you're going to go up to the centre score of those 3 score lines and snip it off. And you can do the same on this side. Okay, so it's looking a lot better, a lot more like this now. Then what you're going to do is you're just going to snip that little section there, both sides. And then we're going to do these little trimmed sections. So you're going to do it on the that small section that we've just cut up into. This bottom section as well. And then in the centre, you've got the 3 score lines. And this is actually going to be standing up in a few minutes. But what you want to do is put it together so that you can snip, and then it's even both sides. So I'll just snip it and then I'll open it up and show you. So rather than try and cut into the centre, do it on both sides. Okay, so we are nearly there, but we need to trim these corners off and also do some additional score, an additional score line. So I'm hoping that the camera's going to be able to pick this up. There is a score line here that is really important, because that score line is this bit here. So you can tell how important that is, because that's what makes it go flat. So I'm just going to bring my scoreboard in. So here is my scoreboard, and I don't know if you've ever noticed, but along this 6-inch line there is a much darker line on my scoreboard. That's not something that Stampin' Up's done, it's something that I've done with a Sharpie marker, and it means that I can score diagonally, which you can't actually do with the scoreboard normally. So this piece that I'm going to score now, I want to score from this point here to here and this point here to here to make an X. And what I'm going to do is put the score line there in that black line, and then just hold it down and then move this around. I'm hoping you're going to be able to see, so that that is on that black score line there. If you tried to do it without that extra score line, no, without that extra black line, you might start here and you think you're in the right spot, but you're not. So this really works. I would recommend that you do it. Obviously, if you do put it on with Sharpie, just give it time to dry. So there we go. So that's the first diagonal line. And then this one, this is why we had to wait until these pieces were cut, because you couldn't actually see that point there. And that is going to go in that direction. So that gives us a complete cross. So I'm just going to repeat that for this side. There we go. So there we've got the two crossed pieces. So I'm going to cut along that score line, and that just makes it really easy to cut. And then what we're going to do is just reinforce that score line there. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to flip it over and bend it that way as well. And I'm actually going to take the time to do that on all of the score lines, because I really want this box to move, and by doing that, it actually really helps it to bend the way you want it to. So designing this card was a real labour of love. I had this idea in my head. It took quite a long time to actually get it to do exactly what I wanted it to do. I think this is possibly the most complicated card I've ever designed, really. But it was the designing that was tricky, not the assembly. So once you've made these, it's honestly, it's so easy. You're going to be making them for all sorts of things. Now, one of the things that you could do is, instead of putting patterned paper on there, you could put photos on there. I think that would be brilliant for like a wedding gift or a significant birthday gift. You know, if you've got a 50th coming up or something, you could put baby pictures and all sorts of things on. I just think it's such a cool thing to have, and these cubes will kind of stack up really nicely. So, you know, if they had photos on, they would stack really nicely and could be a nice little display. Okay, so we've got the two pieces, and what we're going to do now is we're going to stick them together. So what you need to do is to make sure that they're both going in the same direction, and then you're going to stick this tab onto the inside of this one. So that's the first thing. And just press it down really, really well. And then just fold it. So these two little pieces, this is where the elastic band is going to go. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a tiny hole punch and make a snip. So you want it to be in the middle-ish. And you want to cut a slit from the edge to that hole. Now, this is a 45-degree angle and it's quite a steep angle. What we actually want for this is it wants to be longer and shallower. So I'll show you exactly what I mean. So it wants to be a bit like that. Okay, so you're going to do exactly the same. So I'm going to try and get it pretty much in the same place. So you're going to do exactly the same. Oh, okay, you don't want to put it there. That's way too high. It's got to be much further down. So hang on. And then you're going to just do this shallow cut. Okay. Now at this point, this is the point at which you need something heavy to pin things down. So I'm going to be using my scissors, and I've got my little block that I put my glue in to pin things down. And you're going to need to get an elastic band. Now the elastic band needs to stretch, or be able to stretch, to that whole distance there. So just make sure it's going to. What you don't want is something that really easily stretches that distance, because it's not going to be tight enough to spring. And then, so you've got your elastic band, and then what you need is a couple of extra bits of cardstock. And these are going to be little glue tabs to pin this elastic band into place. It will make sense in a second, I promise. So these little glue tabs, let me just let go of that a second, I'll show you. These little glue tabs are going to go over the top of that cut line like that. So it's going to stop the elastic band escaping out the side. That's the theory. So I'm going to put that elastic band in there, and it's going to go down to that little hole. So the first one is easy because obviously it's not under tension. So put a little bit of glue on there. Pin it down. And hold that down. Okay. What I have realised is that I've missed a step out. It's not vital, but it might be easier. And that is to put your patterned paper on while the box is still flat. So I'm going to quickly do that. I would say this is more important if you're using photos potentially, because obviously you want to position them in a certain order. But with this, what I'm using is the Poppy Designer Series paper, and the pattern isn't it's directional, so I want them all in the right order, but it's not really a problem if they don't go in the right order, whereas if you're doing photographs it might. Okay, so let's just pop that down there like that. Okay, so stick those down first, then you're going to do this bit. Now, what we need to do now is put this piece into here and then pull it and what we need to do is pull it all the way over there like that. So can you see that's now under tension, and that's why you need something heavy, because all it's going to want to do is spring back. Let me put the glue in there, that might make it heavier. Oh no, I need the glue. Ha! Right, let's pop the scissors on there as well. Okay, so can you... Sometimes having an extra pair of hands works as well, but let me just even that out and stretch it out again. Da, da, da. It's going to be one of those comedy moments, isn't it, where it just won't do it. Stay. Honestly, really, this is a really strong elastic band, but it will not beat me. Okay, so it's all pinned down. Put some glue on there. Slide that under, and you can probably really see now where this is under tension, and then we've got this little tab of cardstock. And we'll just give it a good press down. There we go. Right, I'm going to move that off and gently let this go, because what I don't want it to do is to snap straight away. Okay, so we know that this works. This works really well. And now all we've got to do is assemble the box. So let's just hold that down there like that. So I'm going to rest my hand on the top. Whoa. So this is the point at which I wish Brian was here. Hang on. Right. So can you see that this tab is now down? And what we're going to do is we're going to fold the triangles in and that flap down. Triangles in and that flap down. And we're going to put, I'm going to let this go a second because it's okay. So we're going to put glue on here and here, and it's going to stick onto the box piece. So I'm going to put the glue on, and then you'll see where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to pull this back over there, and this piece is coming over the top, and it's going to stick down just there. Give it a second, and this is half the side of the box, and you'll see as I lift it up. Ooh, not quite yet, it's still there we go. So that is half of the box done. So just give the glue a second or two to dry. Okay. So can you see now? So the two flaps that I just stuck, ooh, pull that out of the way. The two flaps that I just stuck down are here. So let's see if I can do this again. So the triangle pieces fold on top of one another in, and that flap goes there. So it folds in, and that this triangle here is slightly skew-iff. Look, can you see that's not quite aligned? So I'm just going to refold that so the line is square and fold that down. So now what I'm going to do is put glue on these two pieces, so exactly the same as I've done before. Put glue here, and then this piece is going over the top. Make sure you only put glue on these two tabs, don't put it anywhere else. And then that piece is going on top there like that. Now, of course, when you're making this, you can kind of pause it just to double check to see where I'm putting the glue. But it is just those tabs. So let's just see. So I'm just going to let that go gently. And you'll be able to see that the box is almost made. So I'm just going to pull it open a little bit. So I have got a tiny bit here that the glue hasn't quite stuck. So I'm just going to put a little bit more in there. And that hasn't done it either. I was obviously not being as generous as I am normally with my Tombow glue. So let's just squeeze those, and what we'll do is we'll just let the box form itself. And those pieces will stick. And so basically you have now got these two triangles or halves of a cube, and you've got one last piece to stick, which is this flap. So I will just say this again, the only glue is on these flaps. If you do that, you won't go wrong. Right, I'm going to put a bit more on since I didn't put enough on the others. So this is going to fold in, and that is going to stick on there like so. Just give it a second to line up. And then, ooh, there we go. And then it's all lined up, and then look, da, da, da. It is all glued together. I'm just going to hold it like this just for a second. And then I'm going to let it go, and it should spring up. And I know it kind of feels a little bit fiddly, but it's worth it. So there we go. I could do this all day. I'm not going to. Right. So let's just bring back that the original box and the original cubes. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Please subscribe both to my blog, which is www.inspiringinkin.com, and also to my YouTube channel. If you click the bell on YouTube, it will make sure that you get notified every time I have a new video for you. I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.